this isn't like a how-to. This isn't something that, like a 5-step model of how you interpret the world. This is much more a description of how we experience life. And I think it's just worth sort of just pausing on that, because I know for coaches, I think for me, this was the bit that took a little while to sink in. This wasn't something else to add to my toolkit, which is what I originally saw this as. This is much more a description. So could you just share again that distinction?
Yeah, not only does it not add to your toolkit, it tends to take away. The reason being, it simplifies things. That's certainly what it did for me, because I learned a number of different tools, techniques, methods, and psychological theories for helping people. And they were all helpful up to a point. But then they would tend to contradict each other at certain points. And if something didn't help somebody, I would tend to assume, well, they need a different technique, or we need to do the technique more, or this kind of thing. What I've learned through this is that when people understand how they create their own experience, they start to see that the struggle and the suffering that they've been experiencing, which looked to them as if it was coming from a diverse range of sources, like my own past experience, traumatic events in my childhood, problems to do with my family dynamic, situations at work. Most people live in the idea that they're constantly subject to a lot of outside influences that are affecting them. One of the terms that we use for this is the inside-out understanding. What we're helping people to see is that actually that's not the way that experience gets created. It gets created inside of us, and through what we call the power of thought. And because that thought is largely invisible to us, we naturally attribute the way that we're feeling and experiencing life, we attribute it to things outside of us. Now, all we have to do is make the connection for ourselves. Once we see, oh, in a way, it's me doing it to me, I just hadn't noticed. As soon as we start to see that, we make better use of the gift that we've been granted. In other words, we stop using it against ourselves innocently. We tend to use it against ourselves just because it's through a misunderstanding. And as soon as we see that, A, we don't have to, and B, that's not helpful, we tend to stop doing that all by ourselves. We don't need a technique to stop hurting ourselves or creating unnecessary struggle. We just have to see that that's what we've been doing.
So when you come along on the 29th of July, then you're really going to be speaking to coaches, change workers, therapists who are looking to either transition or are in transition around this principles-based approach. Is that at the heart of what you want to sort of share?
Yeah, very much so. I'm making an assumption here that the majority of people who come will have already kind of heard of the principles or may have even studied it to some degree. So they're curious. It's their curiosity that's leading them in this direction. And I would like to help them to see that there's something here which, first of all, could be very helpful for them personally. One of the things that is, I don't know if it's unique about this, but to me it's very fundamental to this understanding, is that it's only the degree to which we see it for ourselves and it impacts on us that we can really bring it out and into the world and help others with it. It's not something that we can simply learn as a technique to benefit other people. It has to be self-realized. And the beauty of that is that you get to realize it for yourself first. You get to feel the beneficial effect of it first. And then there's a natural secondary process which happens where people who felt the benefit and the impact of something, usually they want to share it with their clients, with their colleagues, or whoever they happen to be working with. And there tends to follow a period then when, if you've been working in let's say the helping profession for some time, you tend to find that some of the things, at least, that you've been using will be less necessary than they used to. You'll tend to find it will simplify your work. It will streamline things for you. It will take a lot of the stress and the apparent pressure out of that job. I work with a lot of therapists, healers, people of that kind of background. Very often they get caught in the self-responsibility. They take on the responsibility of their clients. If the client's not doing well, they feel badly. And they start to see, oh, I don't have to, right? Not only do I not have to, but I'm not so helpful when I do that. when I start getting burdened, when I start getting overwhelmed, I'm actually not as effective as when I'm feeling at ease and peaceful and free within myself. So it tends to bring about a transition quite naturally, and sometimes it's much broader than people anticipate. And what I mean by that is that people often start to see, oh, well, I could bring this here as well, and it could be helpful. And this could be helpful in parenting my kids, and it will be. And people often start getting opportunities to share what they've understood with people that they wouldn't have necessarily seen as clients beforehand.
So it has a wider, almost ripple effect in
Yeah.
not just within your professional practice, but also in your whole of your life, by the sounds of it.
It does, quite naturally. It sends out a positive, beneficial ripple. And as a result of that ripple, people often find themselves getting invited to work in fields that they wouldn't have considered. That's exactly what's happened to me. You know, I had a pretty clear-cut kind of idea as to who my clients were, what my typical client base would be. And all of a sudden, I find myself working with client bases that are nothing like my typical one. And it's great. And, you know, initially for me, I was like, how did that happen? Because it wasn't something that I'd made happen. I hadn't gone out looking to work with those groups. In a way, they came to me because they noticed that there was something here that might be helpful.
Great. Well, Ian, we're really looking forward to seeing you on the 29th. Thanks very much for your time today.
I'm really looking forward to it, Liz. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.